folks. Good morning back. Welcome back to Good Morning Kansas. Can't speak today here. It's been a long day. We're all excited for our mochas and our fires today, but we're going to take you back in time a little bit. Back to 2004. Last week, we went back to 2010. I was in South Dakota, so I thought it would be appropriate to take you back to some of my South Dakota chases. Well, since I'm back here in KAKEland, let's take you back to where it all started. Back in May of 2004, my breakout storm chasing season, greatly helped by several big tornado chase days right here in KAKEland, long before I even knew I was going to be a resident of KAKEland. Very excited to bring you today's Storm Saga Sunday. We'll take you back to Attica and Conway Springs in 2004. Two-day chase total right now, running about 685 miles, including yesterday's Monday's Wyoming chase, which is previous to this with all the hail, and last night's bust.
May 2004. It was my first time taking extended time off to chase, and it would become my breakout month thanks to two of my first major tornado chase days, both of them being my first right here in KAKEland. May 12th started here at this rest area just outside Medicine Lodge. I had met with several chasers whom I'd caravan out with that day. They'd guide me along on my first big multi-tornado chase day. And it started with this tornado just outside Medicine Lodge, a 10-minute show put on by the young Supercell. Not long after would be the Attica tornado here along US 160. This was the most notable tornado of that day, an F2 that went on for nearly 15 minutes as it slowly moved to the north and east.
KC0 ONL reporting tornado on the ground on just south of Highway 160.
We'd see several smaller tornadoes after this before encountering this tornado just outside of Anthony. Initially, the tornado was stationary, churning just west of Chaparral High School, but strong winds wrapping around the tornado shoved it quickly to the east as we attempted to get south on K2 to get out of the rain.
It's right there.
At this time, it looked as if the tornado may make it to the road before we cleared the path. It would be my first close call, one that in hindsight wasn't really that close, as the tornado stopped shy of the highway and never actually crossed the road. Still though, it was my first real taste of tornado chasing adrenaline.
That was a little close.
The chase wasn't over even as daylight faded. My final tornado on this event came just outside of Anthony, this nighttime F4. What made this extra cool was I got to share this with one of my early storm chasing idols, Warren Fadley, whom I'd been following for most of my younger years. It was a pretty cool way to actually end up meeting the guy.
And it was only 17 days later when one of the biggest chases of my career got started right here
at the QT station in Park City, Kansas.
It was here where myself and my new friend Blake hung out waiting for storms to fire. The conditions in this area looked textbook for a major tornado outbreak.
So we spent the better part of 3 hours here at this QT station because we were fairly certain that the big storm
is going to happen right here.
Well, it ended up being a little southwest of right here.
There's the structure of the storm.
But this was the storm, and this was what was going on underneath that storm when I finally got a view of it.
Tornado on the ground.
I was still pretty far to the northeast, but had a good enough vantage point to my southwest to see several tornadoes during this initial cycle. As the storm slowly moved to the northeast, I moved west on US 160 and started to watch this large wedge tornado come at me. I positioned just east of Argonia as the large tornado turned just outside of town. As it slowly approached the highway, a brief anticyclonic satellite came down right on top of the highway, right next to the wedge.
There's another one. That one's on the ground.
These tornadoes eventually dissipated and the storm really started to save its breath for the biggest show of the day.
This thing looks like it's trying to backbuild. We got all sorts of stuff going on under this thing right now.
I let the supercell cross the highway to my west and moved to my north, heading toward Conway Springs. It was spinning like a top and finally put down the first of a series of tornadoes, including 2 EF3s around the town of Conway Springs in an almost hypnotic display that is yet to be rivaled by any storm I've seen in nearly the last 2 decades since.
Look at the rotation in those clouds. Still debris being kicked up on the ground.
My day would end along the Kansas Turnpike south of Wichita as I saw several more tornadoes to my west as the storm approached the city. Fortunately, the storm weakened as it approached greater Wichita, ending my day with over a dozen tornadoes witnessed.
How about that, Tony?
That
Bring you to KAKEland then, and nothing's topped it since.
Nothing's topped it since. In fact, May 29th, I did a piece over the summer of my top 10 favorite tornado chases.
Right.
May 29, 2004, number one, hands down.
How about that?
I don't think it'll ever be beat.
So many memories. And you said you've gone through so much, like you have with these prior Storm Saga Sunday features, a lot of footage, and you're sharing more of these clips online too, which is great.
Yeah, in fact, if you go to my Facebook page here, we'll show you the link here. I'm going to upload the full versions of those tornadoes you saw. So if you go to my meteorologist Tony Laubach Facebook page, follow me on there. I will post this Storm Saga here later this morning, and then throughout the day, I will post the videos of those tornado chases, the Attica tornado, Argonia, Conway Springs in their full entirety, because I begged you for 16 minutes. You wouldn't give me 16 minutes. So.
I would totally give you 16 minutes.
I had to chop it up a little bit, but I've got full videos coming later today of all those tornadoes. Again, this is dating back to 2004.
Wow.
Some of my first big tornado videos. In fact, the Conway Springs tornado was the first tornado video that I ever made on national TV. It was on the Weather Channel that following morning.
Isn't that something? Well, that's where the general, I mean, being so close, or at least at the time when you thought you were so close to the storm too, I mean, that probably got everything pumping, and you're thinking, I gotta keep going with this.
I know, it was, and it was funny looking back. It's so tame, you know. Once I got in with Twistex, and I was like driving up to tornadoes to deploy instrumentation, like how nothing that was at the time. You know, looking back, so it's very cool to see how not only the career has evolved, but your interpretation of how, you know, these events perceive with you, just because you start to experience so many different things.
It's pretty cool to see. So, want to see more? Go to Tony's social pages today as he posts them throughout the day. Good to see. Great to share, Tony. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.